Welcome to RNS Homegrown. My name's Roger.
And I'm Sheila, and we are looking at our 2022 garden year ahead of us, and we're looking at how 2021 went. I'm looking at seeds and varieties and getting ready for what we're going to be starting inside here. And Roger's been...
I've been working on several things, working on planter beds. Our mulberry trees have a lot of roots, and so we're working on roots and planter beds for the 2022 growing year.
Yeah. So in reviewing 2021, we've put together a recap video, and we wanted to share that with you all.
I hope you guys enjoy it. Take a look.
All right, bye-bye.
Here we are laying pavers for our small patio. Here the girls are eating up the leaves from the broccoli and cauliflower we grew through the winter. This was April, and the roses were in full bloom after we had trimmed them down to almost nothing during the winter. And Roger did some major trimming on the two huge fruitless mulberry trees in the backyard. In May, we harvested the garlic that we planted on Halloween Day in one of our raised wooden beds. This is one of the green stalks we bought. I planted it with transplants from the strawberry bed we have in the front yard. None of these lived, unfortunately. I was so impressed by these roses we got from Oak Hills Nursery. The blooms were bigger than my hand. In June, quite a bit of the garden was really starting to take off. These are dragon tongue bush beans. We planted 2 garden beds of these. We loved their taste. They never got woody or stringy, and they were prolific. We will definitely be growing these again. We also learned that we do not care for them canned. They turned out too soft and mushy, so we'll need to try some other varieties for canning. And this beautiful tropical looking plant is a dinosaur kale. This plant never stopped growing come heat wave or snow. It had wonderful flavor, fresh or cooked. We finally took it out because we needed to plant other things in its place. On the left, you'll see that the rosemary really took off this year and is getting huge. And here's a shot of the new garden area on the hill. This is the first year we tried to develop a garden area up there. The row on the left is what we called the tomato and pepper row. On the right, we grew sweet potatoes in several of those pots. And in the ground between the pots, tried growing bush beans and various types of squash. Here's one of the 2 teepee trellises I made of some of the fruitless mulberry branches and tried growing pole beans. They made beautiful plants, but unfortunately we didn't get much of a harvest. Some of our happy girls. Here's the entrance we created to the garden on the hill. On the hog panel arbor, we have a winter squash growing called Canada crookneck. They taste similar to butternut and they grow really well. So we are definitely growing these again. Remember those squash and bean plants I showed you earlier, where we tried to grow them in the ground between the pots? Unfortunately, they never grew much past what you see here. I believe we just needed more work on the soil. This area had been extremely compacted clay, and nothing had ever been grown in it, at least not since this house was built in 1980. Looking down to the lower part of the yard, we have White Castle onions growing in the wooden raised bed on the left. I'm still trying to nail down which varieties do best here and trying to get the timing down for when to start the seeds. These onions grew to a decent size and tasted great, but they didn't store well because many of them tried to go to seed while they were growing, which compromises their ability to store well. This view is from the opposite side of the hill. The section under the windmill is where I'm trying to get some perennials started. The border of this bed is the lavender I started from seed in the house. The center area of the bed has holy basil and echinacea I also started in the house from seeds. I also planted some artichokes. Unfortunately, we didn't get any fruit, but the plants did grow, and they are still alive. I'm hopeful for this growing season. These are Asiatic lilies we are growing by the fence on the side of the yard in front of some ladybank roses we planted the year before. These are the Hungarian wax peppers growing in the tomato and pepper row. We planted more tomato and pepper plants this year than we ever have. We got some harvest from them, but again, I believe the soil wasn't where it needed to be for a big harvest, especially for the amount of plants that we planted. By July, we were really enjoying all the greenery on the hill. Here's that Canada crookneck squash as it was getting close to harvest. This is a planting section we are developing right in front of the chicken yard. What you see here is a blackberry vine and comfrey. And here's the corn patch we put in on the hill. It was tall, it was beautiful, but not much pollination. I think this year I'm going to try hand pollinating. These are herbs we have growing in pots around the fruitless mulberry trees. One of the challenges we have in the lower part of our yard are all the roots from the mulberry trees. We have to grow everything pretty much in pots or raised beds that have a good separation from the roots in the ground. In August, we were harvesting Armenian cucumbers. We loved these so much. They tasted fantastic and never got bitter, no matter how large they got. This was a really hot summer, and by August, everything was starting to look pretty tired. Here's our girls making compost for us. We're going to be talking more about that in an upcoming video. All the wood chips they are scratching through are from a big load that was dropped off to us from a tree trimmer who is doing some work a couple neighbors down on our street. Some of the harvest coming in. An Armenian striped cucumber, also one of our favorites. This is the area where we combine our ingredients to make our compost. And here we have 6 full trash cans of compost ingredients. Again, we're going to be talking more about this in an upcoming video. After those onions were harvested, we grew a small crop of potatoes in that bed before the season was over. And that little stick of a tree right there is the almond tree we planted this year. And here's the dragon tongue bush beans in full swing. I feel so proud every time I find worms in our soil. September harvest. The sweet potatoes were huge and delicious. This was our first time growing okra, and this variety was called Annie Oakley okra. Our son bought me a few plants for my birthday this year. The plants grew tall and they were prolific. This okra was wonderful to eat. Roger got an auger drill for his birthday. We are hoping this will make planting a little faster and easier this year. November is the beginning of the big leaf drop in our yard, and none of them go to waste. They all are saved for our compost. In front of the chicken yard, I decided to try something new. This is a blend of winter cover crops I got from True Leaf Market. Still trying to improve this hard clay soil we have here. When the failed squash and beans came out, we added more bagged compost, and in went the cabbage and cilantro we started from seed in the house. These are those leaves we saved that are already starting to break down in December. You will soon see these going into the 6 trash cans along with the other ingredients. All in all, I'd say that this was a good growing year. We had better luck in the beds that we already developed in the lower yard, but we were thankful for what we got from the new garden on the hill.